Let's talk about Calculus 3. If you're new, Project Ulum is a huge project with the goal to deliver a full world-class computer science education for free. The content follows MIT's 6.3 Computer Science and Electrical Engineering Roadmap and comes from the content on MIT OpenCourseWare. Now, currently I'm going through all of this content as a student. And after I do that, I'll go back through and adapt these courses to feel like Khan Academy. In the end, my hope is to have a frictionless learning experience for a student going from Khan Academy all the way through MIT computer science content and having that all be free. So in regards to my current progress, I'd like to tell you that from June 16th to September 5th, I clocked a total of 338.69 hours of math, which comes out to roughly 254 minutes per day. And in that time frame, I completed 1802, which is multivariable calculus from MIT. And that puts me this far in my total progress. Now, in this video, I want to talk about three things in particular. I want to first break down the structure of this class, and then I want to talk about the things that I think Khan Academy needs to have in order to bring it up to the level of this class, the stuff that I'd like to add to it. And lastly, I want to touch on something very cool and interesting about the potential future of credentialing. So first, let's kick it off, the structure of this class. Now, in comparison to multivariable calculus that's offered on Khan Academy, both MIT's version and Khan Academy actually have a fairly similar structure. First, you'll go through kind of how vectors work and how you can use them. And then you'll talk about differentiating multivariable functions. And lastly, you'll talk about integrating multivariable functions. Both of these structures are very similar. However, I'd like to point out one thing. It took me only 90 hours to get through multivariable calculus on Khan Academy, and it took me nearly 3.5 times longer to go through the stuff on MIT OpenCourseWare. So the question needs to be asked, like, obviously there was something different. So what was it? And I want to highlight two main broad overarching things. First, the complexity. I think it's clear, maybe you would expect this, that MIT's content and problems are more difficult. There's more complex things happening. The problems will take you longer. There's more involved. And kind of how I conceptualize this in my brain and how I want to kind of make a marriage of the two between Khan Academy and MIT OpenCourseWare is to have Khan Academy still does a great job of reaffirming the intuition that you need for these problems, and they do a great job of visualizing multivariable functions because they use graphing software. And they do a great job of getting you to the beginner problems. So as a learner, kind of how I'm conceptualizing bringing this to life where there's a marriage of the two is a learner will go through a concept on Khan Academy, they'll learn it, they'll master it, and once they master it, then that new MIT content that has a little bit harder problems and maybe a different application kind of under the same umbrella will then be unlocked, and they'll be able to go deeper into the stuff that they just mastered by taking the MIT stuff. So that's the first thing. That's the difference in complexity. Next, there's more content in the MIT stuff. I mean, obviously from the 3.5 times longer it takes you to go through it, you'd expect there to be something more. And in particular, I would say something that you'll notice is that MIT really focuses on applying it to physics. You'll do a lot of problems where you apply things to physical concepts. For example, you'll go through moment of inertia, you'll go through mass problems, average value, gravitational attraction, Kepler's second law, fluid flows, and some other applications to physics as well. That's mainly what you'll do. You'll learn a concept, you apply it to physics. That's how they handle it. And that's basically the roundup of what's different and why it took so much longer to go through this. If you're interested, I have more detailed notes on what the actual minute differences are, kind of the videos I want to add, and all of my test scores in a Notion template. If that's something that would interest you, that'll be down below. But lastly, I wanted to touch on a very interesting article that I read recently in regards to the potential future of credentialing. In this article, it details how Caltech is now allowing Schoolhouse.World certifications for their admission process in physics, calculus, and chemistry. Now, if you're not familiar, Schoolhouse.World was started by Sal Khan, who is the founder of Khan Academy, and it's an online tutoring and certification platform. During COVID, a lot of other universities started using Schoolhouse.World certifications for their admission process. But I find it interesting that even more schools are starting to add that as part of their admission process now. Why is that interesting? Mainly because a university is an accrediting body. They give you credentials, they give you a degree that's accredited, right? Schoolhouse.World is just a platform. The universities seem to be adding a certain amount of credibility to this platform by allowing them to hold this as an admission thing. Like they're almost putting it on par with an AP test. But what's cool is that Schoolhouse.World is a peer-to-peer network of credentialing. So it's not like an AP test where you have to go to a physical place, sit down, take a test, pay $90, wait 2 months to have it graded by people. No. Instead, it's a software service where basically you can go online, take the test that you're trying to get certified in as many times as you'd like. You film a video as you do the test, and then somebody will go through that video, make sure you weren't cheating because you have to explain your answers as you give them. The software grades your test. If you get above 90%, you get certified in it. And I just think, how cool is that? Because if you just go a little bit further into the future, you start to come with questions like, okay, could this be the future of credentialing? Where rather than you going to a university and taking an expensive class and having to have your credential come from them, could you just learn something online and take this test and that be an equivalent accreditation, have that whole process be free? Like that's very interesting. And it's very interesting that universities are the first people to give kind of credibility to this thing that could potentially in the future be in competition with them. So I just thought that article was fascinating. If you want to read more about it, it will be down below. That's kind of all that I have for you. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching the video. In regards to what I'm working on next, I'll be tackling a physics class along with brushing up on some Python, and then I'll start taking off larger chunks of the degree content I have left. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.